Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today I'm going to make a gravity ice dyed shirt. For this shirt, I'm going to draw a diagonal line on the shirt using a straight edge and a washable marker. Now I'm going to fan fold this line and I'm going to tie it with some kite string. I'm going to try a little experiment on this shirt. I did a shirt like this, but instead of doing a straight line, I did a wavy line, and then I tied it with sinew and placed the dye under the ice. For this shirt, I'm going to change a few things. I'm going to fan fold a straight line going diagonally across the shirt. I'm going to tie it with kite string, and I'm not going to pull it super tight, and then I'm going to apply the dye over the top of the ice. So let's see what changing a few things makes the shirt look like in the end. I'm also going to use the same exact colors. So for this shirt, I'm going to use some tealish type colors. I'm also going to do the process outside. So I've placed a couple of plastic sawhorses outside, placed a piece of vinyl guttering over the top, and then I'm going to drape the shirt over the top of the vinyl guttering where the line that I fan folded is on top. I'm allowing the other parts of the fabric to hang over the edge of the guttering, and that's what's going to get gravity dyed. I just tied the shirt, so it is still damp, but I want to make sure it's really damp. So I'm spraying it with some soda ash solution that I have inside of a plastic squirt bottle. For the ice, I'm using a couple of pretty large ice cubes, which I made in some silicone ice molds. It's only taking 2 ice cubes to cover the line that I fan folded. Now I'm going to add the dye over the top, and I'm using the same dye pattern, the same dye colors, trying to keep as much the same as I did on the first shirt. By the way, I'm going to leave a link to that video down below this one in the description so that you can find the video that I keep referencing. I'm starting off with Heads or Teals from Dharma Trading Company, and that was a muck dye color, so that is no longer available. Since Heads or Teals is no longer available from Dharma, you can either substitute like Teal Blue from Dharma or one of the other aqua type colors. The next color that I'm using is Celadon from Dharma, followed by Kingfisher Blue from Dharma, Teal Blue from Dye Spin, and I'm going to end with Crappy Scrappy from Grateful Dyes. For the most part, I'm trying to put the dye on top of the ice. A little bit of it is kind of going over the edge directly onto the shirt. My Crappy Scrappy is a little bit clumpy, so I'm trying to mix it up a little bit before I apply it to the top of the ice. After I have all the dye on the shirt, I'm going to go ahead and place a little bit of additional dry soda ash over the top of the dye. Then I'm going to leave the shirt alone and allow the ice to melt. I've included some process photos so you can see how the ice melted and the dye moved down the shirt. Once all this ice was melted, I still didn't have all the color to the edges of the shirt. So I went ahead and added another larger chunk of ice, which I made in a Cool Whip container. Once that chunk of ice melted, the dye was all the way to the edges of the shirt, and I took the shirt and placed it down inside of a plastic container that has a metal rack in the bottom. I placed the lid on the container, and I placed the shirt in my garage where it was nice and warm. By this time it was almost dark, and so it had started to cool off. I left the shirt in the garage where it was over 70 degrees Fahrenheit for about 48 hours before I began rinsing it. It's October, and so it's kind of a little warmer during the day, and it's getting pretty cool at night. Since I dyed this shirt, it's getting significantly cooler during the day and the evening. So to get the prettiest blues, you really need to process your shirts at least over 70 degrees Fahrenheit. For turquoisey type colors, they really like it even hotter. So I placed the shirt in the warmest spot that I had, and I allowed it to process a little bit longer than I normally would have. Then I took it to my utility sink and I began rinsing it in cold water to rinse out the soda ash. Then I untied the shirt and warmed the water up to hot and continued rinsing in hot water to rinse out the excess dye that didn't bond with the fabric. Instead of just rinsing for a long time, I ran some really hot water in my utility sink, added some Blue Dawn dish soap to the water, placed the shirt inside, and I allowed it to soak. When the water cooled off, I changed it out and I continued that soaking process until my water was remaining almost clear. Blues tend to be one of the hardest colors for me to get fully rinsed, so it took quite a while to get this shirt rinsed. I changed out the water multiple times and left it for probably about, I would say, 24 hours soaking to try to get out the excess dye. Then I placed the shirt inside my washing machine and I washed it on a hot water cycle, and I used some Dharma's Professional Textile Detergent. So the shirt has been washed, dried, and ironed, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so what do you guys think? I think this one looks pretty cool. I like the colors, and they did end up looking pretty vibrant, which makes me excited or happy. You know, this time of year, like I said, it's a little bit dicey because it's getting cooler, but even with the turquoisey type colors, they ended up being nice and vibrant. I do have a couple little spots on the front part of the shirt from, little dye flecks that came out. But I do like the dye flow in the shirt, and I think it looks really pretty. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the shirt. So remember, I was doing this as an experiment to compare it with a shirt where I applied the dye under the ice and I used sinew to tie it. So let me show you both of these shirts side by side so you can kind of see the difference between the two. I was actually doing this partially as an experiment to see if I could get the dye flow without having a definite line where I applied the dye. I had somebody ask me if I could do that, and I didn't really think it was going to be possible, but I thought I would give it a try. So whenever you apply the dye to a shirt, especially a gravity dye, because that's what they wanted, is they wanted a shirt like this that was a gravity dyed shirt, and they just wanted the dye flow. They didn't want to have the white line or the wavy line from the comparison shirt. But there's really not any way that I can figure out how to give them what they want without having a line where I originally put the dye, because you have to put the dye someplace on the shirt. And whether you place the dye over the top of the ice or under the ice, you have to add enough dye to the shirt that it can actually flow to the outside edges of the shirt. So I could maybe add less dye to the shirt, but it probably wouldn't flow all the way to the edges. And if it did, it probably wouldn't be very vibrant. Now, there are ways that I can get the dye flow on a shirt and I can get kind of the same coloring on a shirt with maybe like an incline twist or another technique that's not gravity dye. But with gravity dye specifically, I just don't know how to make that happen. But as far as comparing these two shirts go, I really kind of like both techniques. I personally prefer the sinew tied designs. I like the ones that have the definition line going down through them where you can see that, and because of the way it's tied, the dye flows in different directions. I think that's a really cool effect. I think the dye is darker too on this shirt where I place the dye underneath the ice, and that's not unexpected either. I did these shirts 2 years apart, but I did both of them in the fall. So the wavy line shirt I did in September of 2022, and this one, of course, I did in October of 2024. So I did both of them about the time the weather was starting to turn a little cooler. I was looking at the dye under the ice shirt and thinking, how much darker it was, and thinking, well, maybe it was really hot then. But I did that one in the fall too. So who knows? I mean, in the fall, it can be 90 degrees here, or it can be 70. You just never know. So I think it was a fun experiment to test out a theory that I had, and I think I pretty much proved my theory that there's not any way I can get just the dye flow with the gravity dye without getting an origin line where I actually put the dye. But like I said, I thought I would give it a shot just to make sure my theory was correct and see what the shirt would look like. So overall, I like the way it turned out, but what do you guys think? Please drop me some comments down below and let me know. And if you've enjoyed this little experiment, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it and if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you'll hit the bell, you'll receive a notification whenever I upload a new video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.